To begin with, I want to tie together three events, three things here, if I may, just very quickly. And the guy to do it is Jeff Sharlet. Jeff Sharlet's on the phone with us. His website, Jeff Sharlet, SHARLET.com. Jeff, the author of course, contributing editor to Harper's and Rolling Stone, author of the New York Times bestseller, The Family, The Secret Fundamentalism at the Heart of American Power. Jeff, welcome back to our program.
Hey, Tom. Great to be here.
Great to have you with us. Here, let me just lay these three things out really quickly. My question for this hour is: are religious cults killing democracy the same as they're killing people? What got me started on this is that this week there's going to be a verdict in a case here in Oregon where a family denied medical care to two of their children who both died because they were members of a religious cult that believed in only faith healing. And in fact, there's a cemetery here that includes members of this family. There's over 20 bodies there's just been a whole bunch of deaths in this one little cult here. Number one. Number two, we've got the Ugandan Kill the Gays bill. Apparently Hillary Clinton had a conversation with the president, with Museveni of Uganda, and they're not going to be pushing it quite so hard. And the organizer of that's been disinvited from the National Prayer Breakfast, which brings me to number three, which is, I think, the crux of the whole thing, and that is that Thursday, the National Prayer Breakfast is happening in Washington, D.C., which has been sponsored for 40 years by this group that you refer to as the Family. They call themselves the Fellowship. And it's a demonstration of the political power of another religious cult. And I want to bring all these together because I see these religious cults as being extremely toxic and, by the way, taxpayer supported. So, Jeff, let's start out with the National Prayer Breakfast on Thursday. Tell us what this is and what's going on with this.
Well, National Prayer Breakfast was actually organized first time back in 1953 with the express purpose of consecrating the nation's leadership to Jesus Christ. And it's continued ever since, paid for. It's a private sectarian event. In fact, one of the organizers just come forth to say that they're not obliged to provide any transparency because it is this private event. Recent documents say anything can happen, even the Quran can be read. They invited Prince Bandar, the Saudi Arabian ambassador, once to speak. Said, but Jesus is there. He is infiltrating the world. That's the event which they have managed to give a veneer of official government endorsement to.
Now, don't the invitations go out on official government letterhead?
Congressional letterhead, you RSVP, if you're a reporter, through the White House. And at the same time...
Isn't that a violation of the separation of church and state?
Yeah, and in fact, the first president to attend thought so too, Dwight Eisenhower. You know, the family today is fond of saying that Eisenhower started this. Eisenhower didn't start it. He resisted it almost to the end, but he owed electoral campaign favors, and he said, okay, I'll go. I just hope this doesn't become a tradition. It didn't become a tradition for Eisenhower. He couldn't stand it, but it did become a tradition for his vice president, Richard Nixon, who thought this was a terrific thing. And unfortunately, every president since is gone.
Yeah, and apparently gone enthusiastically.
Well, of course. I mean, who's going to come out and say they're against prayer? And you know, to be fair, most of them don't understand the history of the organization behind this. Most of them, for instance, don't understand that it's not just that event on Thursday, but there's a whole week long of sort of lobbying-like events. So, for instance, on Wednesday, there will be an African prayer breakfast for leaders from Africa. Senator James Inhofe, the far right-wing Republican from Oklahoma, has a sort of quasi-veto power over that event. And I want to correct a couple things because they put out there the idea that David Bahati, the Ugandan member of parliament who proposes this
Kill the Gays bill,
was disinvited. I've been speaking with David Bahati regularly, and he is very clear that he was not disinvited, that he was invited.
Is he coming to the United States?
He's not coming because, as he put it, he doesn't want to embarrass his friends here. He doesn't. He says the gays control America, and so he.
Yeah, right.
And Senator Inhofe is terrified of the gays.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Last week it was the Jews. This week it's the gays.
Will be next week.
Yeah, right.
Everyone gets a turn. Everyone gets
one
week to rule America.
Oh man, it's well, I say that lightly, and you do too. But that kind of thinking is what led to the Holocaust, And that kind of thinking is what is one of the reasons why gay teenagers have the highest suicide rate in the nation. And that kind of thinking could lead to the murder, the legal government-sanctioned murder of gays in Uganda, and at this very moment leads to the government-sanctioned murder of gays in countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran. And so, I really shouldn't make a joke of it.
No,
this is serious stuff.
What's going on in Uganda is potentially much more devastating than the hateful anti-gay bills in countries like Saudi Arabia. They're talking about a much more widespread campaign in a country with a history of genocide. And now that this movement has spread to Rwanda and Burundi, two neighboring countries also with a history of genocide, it's important to recognize that the American members of the family have come out against the bill. But the issue is too little too late. They've empowered these Ugandan members. David Bahati says, I am a member of the family. He says, I'm the secretary of the Ugandan branch. They've empowered them, and they frankly haven't held them accountable. And they use things like President Obama showing up at the National Prayer Breakfast to say, hey, we're a legitimate organization, even though we're not going to tell you anything about what we're doing. If they would just come clean, just come out in the public square.
What is the association? We're talking with Jeff Sharlet, author of The Family, jeffsharlet.com, his website. Jeff, what is the association between President Museveni of Uganda and the family?
It's one of the deepest they have. It goes back to 1986 when he took power by coup. The family has gone public in effect this fall, and they've been very clear in response to my book and the reporting I've been doing with Rachel Maddow. And they talk about reaching out to Museveni in 1986. He's the longest-serving dictator in East Africa.
Right. So they're reaching out to him. We have just a half a minute left, Jeff. Pardon me for trying to move this along really quickly, but how is that connected? Their connection to Museveni and Uganda. How is that connected to the living hell that's going on in Somalia?
In Somalia is a country where they have an even deeper relationship. They were the ones who facilitated the massive arms up under the former dictator. Yeah, Saad Barre. In fact, it was Senator Chuck Grassley who was going over there. This is in their documents in the 1980s and helping them arrange for meetings with U.S. defense contractors, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He used that weaponry to...
So here we have this Christian group, the family, that's facilitating wars and murders of civilians?
They would say they had the best of intentions, but we all know what the road to hell is paved with.
Indeed. Very well said. Jeff Sharlet, The Family is his book. If you haven't read it, do. It's the essential reading. Jeff Sharlet, JEFFSHARLET.com, his website. Jeff, thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thanks, Tom.
Good talking with you. We'll be right back.